The topic is from competence to leadership. I told you last week that competence is getting the job done. Leadership is getting the job done through others. Okay? Leadership is getting the job done through others. And so I told you last week that effective leadership multiplies productivity. And then we pushed it a little bit further. I shared with you how that to transition from competence to leadership, you have to become a lifelong student of leadership. I gave you 3 major suggestions last week, Wednesday. We took time to look at one to an extent, and that is the first one: become a lifelong student of leadership. I shared with you how that you must understand what leadership is and how it works. I took a bit of time last Wednesday looking at some of my favorite definitions of leadership, but much more than that, the advice is that you devote the rest of your life to studying leadership, understanding leadership, and most importantly, practicing principles of leadership. Tonight, I'm going to look at the other two suggestions that I made last week, Wednesday. The second one is adopt the right attitude toward people. And the third one is develop the will to lead. So in the time that we have left tonight, we are going to focus on adopting the right attitude towards people. I'm going to share some of my thoughts with you about that. And then finally, we will look at how to develop the will to lead. So let's go right into today's material. Okay, we're looking at adopting the right attitude towards people. Okay, you adopt the right attitude towards people. What are we talking about? If you want to make the shift from competence to leadership, we said first, become a lifelong student of leadership, and then number 2, adopt the right attitude towards people. I told you, people are never the problem. Okay, let me say this: leadership is all about people. If you're going to be effective in leadership, you've got to let that sink. Leadership is all about people. People are more important than projects. People are more important than structures, than systems, than objectives, than results. People are the heart of leadership. Listen to this. You need vision to lead people, but you need people to fulfill your vision. If you must choose between vision and people, choose people. Listen. A man who has people following him, but who is not clear about his vision, will move the people somehow, somewhere. He will deliver some results. But the man who has vision, but who does not have people, is going to be frustrated in leadership. Okay, and what happens to a lot of leaders is they are so full of what they want to achieve, but they don't understand people. They don't know how to get the best of things done through people. You've got to get it right. Leadership is about people. This is important. Leadership is about people. But let me say this to you. People are perhaps the greatest challenge every leader is going to deal with. And the reason why some people, get fed up with people is because they don't understand how to handle people. Let me give an example of what I'm saying, or show you some instances of how people can be the greatest challenge that a leader will have to contend with in his leadership. You start with the lack of people. That can be very, very frustrating. You have a vision, you are clear about what you want to achieve, but you don't have people. Okay, that's the first thing you have to deal with, and then you graduate from there. Then you move to the lack of the right people. These are hurdles every leader must negotiate. Hurdles you must deal with. Hurdles you must overcome in your life as a leader or in your leadership journey. First is the lack of people. From there you will move to the lack of the right people. You see, at that point, people don't know why you are frustrated as a leader, because they are ready. They want to work, but sometimes they are not fit. Sometimes they don't have the right attitude. Sometimes they are not competent, or they are not responding to your leadership properly. It can be very frustrating when you have people, but you don't have the right people. I'm reminded of a story of a young pastor. He went to his mentor and he was complaining. Okay, he was not dealing with the lack of people. He was dealing with the lack of the right people. He said, the people that are with me right now in the church, they are not the right people. They are not the people I saw in my vision. And that happens to most of us as leaders. The guy said, look, in my vision, I saw, competent people. I saw, well-to-do people, successful people. He said, the people that have surrounded me now, they are broke, they are discouraged, they don't have money. At the end of the service, if I don't give them money, they don't have enough transport to go home. The mentor told him, those people are the same people you saw in your vision. The mentor told him, if you don't know how to transform the lives of those people, then you are finished in leadership. But I can tell you for a fact, it can be frustrating for a leader who is not aware that these are normal things in the life of a leader. That you will deal with the lack of people, then you will deal with the lack of the right people, then you will move from there to the quirks of some people. Listen, like I said to you last week, the P in people spells problems. The moment you begin to bring people together of a necessity, they will conflict. One of my mentors I respect a great deal is Dr. Sam Adeyemi. He said when two people walk and they never disagree, one of them is unnecessary. I processed that statement for a long time, and I came up with a version of my own. I said, where two people work together and they never disagree, one of them is a scammer. So there's going to be conflict when you have people. Listen, all I am saying to you is this. If you don't develop the right attitude toward people as a leader, you will find it difficult to influence them and to produce outstanding results with them. The most effective of leaders have a clear picture, or a clear idea of how to attract people, how to inspire people, how to motivate people, and how to deal with the conflict of people or the problems that arise from leading people. Stanley C. Allen said, the most useful person in the universe today is the man or woman who knows how to get along with other people. Human relations is the most important science in living. I will advise you, if you have not yet seen or read the book by John Maxwell, Winning with People, you want to lay your hand on that book. It is chock full of principles that will help you understand people, that would help you lead people excellently. Like I said before now, leadership is all about people. People are more important than vision. They are more important than projects. They are more important than profits. So over the years, I've studied leadership and I've been a student of leadership now for well over 20 years. I've read several books. I've attended several trainings. And over the years, I have developed, thoughts. All right. I have developed principles. I have developed values that help me to lead people. I have developed some dominant thoughts about people that helps me in my leadership, and I want to share with you about 5 of them, maybe 5 or 6 of them this evening. These are dominant thoughts. No matter what the situation is, these are things that I say to myself. The first one I want to share with you is this: people are the mission. People are the mission. Effective leaders build people. The people then build the organization. Listen, effective leaders don't have vision and use people. No, effective leaders, focus on people, not vision. They don't use people to pursue their vision. They use vision to benefit their people. This is important. People are the mission. If you are going to be successful in leadership, you have to focus on people. The people over time will now reciprocate your gesture by focusing on the organization and building the organization. The second dominant thought that I use in my leadership is this: people are never the problem. No matter what it is, no matter what's going on, I say to myself, people are not the problem. People are not the problem. When I adapt myself to people, I grow. So this is what I am saying. No matter what the situation is, I take it upon myself to adapt to the people that I am leading. And what I found over the years is that when I adapt that way, I grow. When I want to force people to adapt to me, they groan. And some of them even go. So the leader that does not understand that, look, people at the mission, a leader that does not understand that people are never the problem, will forever want to adapt people to himself. But the leader that adapts himself to people tends to grow over time. So very early in my career, I was this guy that was, I'm naturally choleric. I am driven. I'm a go-getter and all of that. And I found out that because I was focused on my objectives, in those days, I had the tendency of offending people, of being insensitive to people. But when I learned that people are the mission, when I discovered that people are never the problem, I started to adapt myself to people. Now listen, it does not mean that the people are not wrong. It does not mean that the people don't make mistakes. It does not mean that some people just have a very terrible attitude to life. But this is what I have discovered. The only control I have is over myself. I can choose my response. I cannot determine how other people will respond. So over the years, I have allowed myself to grow. And by so doing, I have developed the ability to interface and to interact with different types of people. Okay, some 15 years ago, if you are not driven, if you are not positive about life, if you are not success oriented, I probably can't stand you. And sometimes I can smell it from afar and I don't even give such people a chance. But I found out over time that no matter how incompetent, no matter how, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for now, no matter how unfit a person might appear, there is a purpose for every person. There is a purpose for every person. Most of the time, because we leaders are driven, because we are visionaries, because we are, optimistic, we place demands on people that perhaps is bigger than their design, bigger than their current capacity. And this is what I'm saying. There is a spot for everybody on the organization, and sometimes that spot is not the spot that the leader desires at that moment. You see, being a leader means that you are visionary. Most of the time you see in people more than they see in themselves. It doesn't mean that you are not seeing right, but sometimes we need to be patient to allow those people to grow into what we see concerning them, and it takes a lot of time. So the person is not wrong. I may have to find somebody else to do what I want this person to do, but I'm not going to make this person feel like you are the problem. By so doing, I grow as a leader in my ability to provide leadership to different categories of people. The Yoruba people in Nigeria have an interesting proverb. They say that the adult who hardly gets offended is the one who has many children. What does that mean? Your ability to control yourself, your ability to be that person that so many people can relate with, perhaps might be the reason why you will succeed as a leader in the long run. I happen to have, a pastor like that. I've followed him now for over 30 years. I've known him for over 30 years. I've followed him closely. I've had the privilege of working with him. I'm talking about Pastor Victor Adeyemi. I have never heard him say, I don't like that person. I have never heard him say, that person offended me. And so over the years, it became an example for me. He is one person I know that many people want to work with. Is one person I know who is loved by so many. I mean, if you check on Facebook alone, he has over 100,000 followers. And I'm not just talking about fake people. I'm not talking about, people that don't have a connection. I'm talking about people who at one point or the other have been a part of his life. Maybe he led them at some point. He pastored them at some point. Some of them over 40 years. Okay. And they are still in love with him. They still want to be a part of him. When he gets into a city, people practically converge just because this person is around. Okay, we tell him he has a very large heart, but the reason is because he adapts himself to people. My pastor was one person that would, the moment you start talking, he listens. And if you're going to be effective in leadership, one thing you must be able to do is listen. Amazingly, leaders have ideas, leaders have vision, and so most of the time we have the tendency to keep talking, to keep telling people what we want them to know. But when a leader listens, it communicates to people that you care. I remember one time we had an event. Okay, I think it was his birthday. I can't even remember the specifics now. And different people were coming to talk about him. Okay, and this dear friend of mine came out and she was describing him and she got so overwhelmed. He is this, he is that. And at a point she said, he is Jesus. And the reason for that is because she's saying, look, he has become so much like the person of Jesus. Okay, of course, we cracked a joke out of it, made a slogan out of it afterwards. But you need to understand, this is because my pastor knows how to adapt himself to people. When you are talking, he will listen as if he does not know what you are talking about. It may be a month later when he now begins to talk about the same thing. You will feel ashamed when it dawns on you that he listened to you even though you practically did not know what you were saying. But he will listen. And over the years, he has developed a lot of following because he has a large heart, he is caring, he adapts himself to people. Okay? What am I sharing with you? People are never the problem. Let me share the next one with you. Okay, bad people are in the minority. This is something I say to myself. Okay, I'm not giving you these principles so that you can write them down and then you probably turn them into a mantra. No, it doesn't work that way. These are conclusions I've drawn by years of study and practicing leadership. I am suggesting them to you so that you can consider them. And as you study, okay, you may come to the same conclusion, then it will become a value for you. But I tell myself this and I practice it all the time. Bad people are in the minority. Okay, bad people are in the minority. They are just loud. What am I saying? When I meet a person, I give them that benefit of doubt. I like the way Craig Rochelle puts it. He said, you see, trust is not to be earned. Okay, sometimes we treat people that way. When they come around, we are skeptical. You know, we're saying, look, I've got to test you. I've got to check you before I can trust you. He said, no, but the better way to do it is as you relate with people, let it be obvious. I want to trust you. As a matter of fact, take this opportunity, take this chance. Let the person prove to you that he is not worthy of trust. Okay, the Yoruba people will say again that if we say we should close our eyes so that all the bad people can pass, we will miss out on the good people. All right, no matter, and believe you me, I've had some very, very terrible experiences. See, people are always going to be people, and a few people are bad. Even some of those people can't help themselves. Some of them don't even know the reason why they are bad, but they are in the minority. They just can be loud. Sometimes they can hurt you very bad, but they are in the minority. So when I come into a community of people, I am expecting over 80% of them to be positive. I'm expecting over 80% of them to have the right attitude. I'm expecting over 80% of them to listen. I'm expecting over 80% of them to be cooperative. I'm expecting my relationship with over 80% of them to work out. Listen, I have another principle at the end, towards the end of this presentation, that would help you understand the reason why I think like this. But take it at this moment. People, okay, bad people are in the minority. I say that to myself, okay, all the time. Let me move to the next one. I will never stop taking a chance on people. This is another dominant thought. I will never stop taking a chance on people. As a matter of fact, I am a product of a number of persons, okay, taking chances on me. I wouldn't have come this far if some people did not believe me. Honestly speaking, I got to places in my life where I had no track record, I had no previous experience, and somebody took a chance on me. I'll say this to you. Bad people, negative people, or sometimes people in a tough place may squander the opportunity that you give them. But don't make the mistake, okay, of thinking people are like this, or I have tried to be nice, I've tried to be generous, and my generosity has been repaid, okay, with a bad habit or with a bad attitude. I'm never going to take a chance on people. No, don't make that mistake. When you do that, you will short circuit, or better still, you will sabotage yourself in leadership. Okay, I will never stop taking a chance on people. And then this is the last one. There are so many more, but permit me, because of time, to share this one as the last one for this evening. People follow people. Now, this is perhaps the strongest of my dominant thoughts. It may be difficult for a lot of people to accept this, but listen to it slowly. People follow people. They don't follow titles. They don't follow positions. People follow people. And what do I mean? The quality of the people that I have now is reflective of the quality of my leadership. It is difficult to accept as a leader, but the quality of the people following you now is reflective of the quality of your leadership. If you want stronger people to follow you, become a better leader. And this is what I'm saying. Instead of blaming my people for not being good enough, I take responsibility on myself to grow and become a stronger and a better leader. Because the law of attraction says who you are is who you attract. Okay, so people follow people. And let me share with you how that works in practical terms. Okay, somebody comes in very fresh. I take a chance on the person. I give the person an opportunity. 3 months down the line, maybe the person misbehaves or the person is not growing at the rate I expect them to grow. Instead of blaming it on that person, see, the moment you blame people, you deny yourself of the opportunity to do something about the situation. The moment is somebody else's fault. Then there's nothing you can do about it. But the moment I say to myself, the person I have attracted is reflective of the quality of my leadership, so I'm going to take it as an opportunity to grow. The next time I'm interfacing with another person, I will approach it differently. I will deal with it differently. When I notice they have similar traits or qualities, I will approach it differently from the way I approached the previous person. Good. So people follow people. Who I have is a reflection of my current level of leadership. When you think like that, what you have is a growth mindset. I can become a better leader, and as I grow to become a better leader, I will attract better people. All I'm trying to tell you is if you're going to be effective in leadership, you have to develop the right attitude toward people. Let's look at the words of Sam Walton, a co-founder of Walmart, what he had to say about people. Sam Walton said, "As much as we love to talk about the elements that have gone into Walmart's success, merchandising, distribution, technology, market saturation, and real estate strategy, the truth is that none of that is the real secret of our unbelievable prosperity. What has carried the company so far, so fast, is the relationship that we, the managers, have been able to enjoy with our associates. It is the only reason our company has been able to consistently outperform the competition and even our own expectations." This for me is profound. This is profound. Vision is good. Strategy is good. Planning is good. Excellent execution is good. But at the end of the day, in the words of Sam Walton, the ultimate secret to success is the relationships in the organization. The relationships you build in the organization, the quality of relationships in the organization. You cannot build excellent relationships with people if you don't have, a positive, a warm attitude toward them. That's why I'm suggesting to you this evening that you develop the right attitude toward other people. If you are going to make that shift from competence to leadership. Listen, if you are that competent guy who feels like I'm the only one competent here, all these guys are very lazy, they are not punctual, they don't know how to get the job done. Once that's the way you think about them, that is how you are going to treat them. It will determine your expectation. It will determine how tolerant or patient you are likely to be with people. And when you are that person, people don't want to follow you, no matter how competent you are. Let me quickly remind you about John Maxwell's statement. He says it all the time. He that thinks he leads but has no one following is only taking a walk. So you want to make sure that you are not just an expert, you are not just that competent person who knows what to do. To be able to produce outstanding results, you have to master how to get things done through other people. And for the past 2 sessions, there are 3 major things I'm talking about. Become a lifelong student of leadership, 1. 2, develop the right attitude toward people. And the third suggestion, which is where we're wrapping it up tonight, is what? Is to develop the will to lead. Okay? Develop the will to lead. This is crucial. Develop the will to lead. I'm going to make 3 suggestions to you under this heading. Develop the will to lead. Like I said last Wednesday, leadership is a lot like financial investment. To make it big, you must be willing to invest in your leadership for a very long time. Okay? Leadership is not a short dash, is not a 100-meter race. Leadership is a marathon. It's a lifelong journey. If you are not willing to invest in your leadership for a very long time, you may not see the kind of results that you are supposed to record as a leader. This is what I have discovered. People will commit to you to the degree to which they trust you. Now, it takes a very long time to build trust. Why? Because it takes a long time for you to develop your character, and it takes a long time for you to develop a track record of success. So when people meet you, they give you a bit of trust, but it's not the kind of trust that makes them commit to you wholeheartedly. And if you are going to have the kind of people that are willing to give their life, they are willing to sacrifice for the organization, you must be willing to invest, okay, in your leadership for a very long time. So many years ago, I read a book that talked about the largest churches in the world. And they found out that one major quality all of those churches have in common is that they have a primary leader, okay, their pastor, who has decided to be the pastor of that church for a lifetime. As at the time I was reading that book, all the churches that were examined in the book had a pastor who had been their pastor for upwards of 40 years. Okay, those are the kind of organizations, and that's like some people don't get it. They feel like these people are just gullible. Why are they just following this man? When you check it very well, it is because the man has been consistently leading them with top-notch character for upwards of 20 years. When you have a leader who has kept his word, when you have a leader who has been a model for over 10, 15, 20 years, people will reward such a leader with trust. They will commit resources, they will commit time, they will commit their life to such a leader. So if you want people to trust you, you must be willing to invest in your character. You must be willing to invest in a track record of success. Sometimes if you have not been doing something consistently for upwards of 5 years, people don't trust you. They don't give you their time. They don't give you their money. They are not sure if you are going to be here, okay, till this vision comes to pass. Okay, in our space as pastors, it was discovered that churches where their pastors are always being transferred don't always have committed members, because the people are not sure who is going to come next, what's going to happen next. It's the same thing in business. Whatever business you have not done for a very long time, people are likely not to trust you. So your business will work, your leadership will be effective, but you must be willing to commit time, all right, into your leadership. When people lack confidence in you as a leader, it can be very discouraging. But you know, if you will hold out, and that's why I'm talking about the will to lead, okay? When you invest in people and you don't see positive results in a short time, it can be very draining. It can be very draining, all right? Leaders are problem solvers. But when problems become unrelenting, it can be very, very draining. It can tempt you to quit. But what I'm sharing with you is, if you refuse to quit, you will win. The most successful leaders are the ones who have decided to do it for a very, very long time. So to develop the will to lead, there are just 3 major ideas I want to share with you this evening. If you want to develop that resilience, okay, that staying power in leadership, 3 suggestions I want to make, and we are done for this evening. Number 1, do the right things for the right reasons. Okay, do the right things for the right reasons. I've seen so many young leaders make a mistake here. They sacrifice, they give of themselves, and then they say, I am doing it for the people. Listen, it can break your heart when you think you are sacrificing for people and they don't place value on your sacrifice. So don't do it because of people. Do it because it is the right thing to do. Do it because you have chosen to do this. Okay? Listen, people will test you. Okay? People will test you. People will repeatedly supply you with reasons and opportunities to quit. So, successful leaders, they know people are the mission, but they don't put their focus and their expectations on people, because people will test you. I talk about Moses all the time. Moses made a lot of sacrifices for the Jews, and yet the Jews were the reason why he couldn't make it to the promised land. So you have to be careful that the very people that you are sacrificing for are not the ones that will cost you your success. Okay, that's why you've got to do the right things for the right reasons. Okay, I say it this way. If you are not willing to go alone, you are not worthy of being followed. So when you are going and you say, I'm going because of these people, I hear it from ladies a lot. All right, you enter a relationship with a guy, or you are taking care of your children, and then you are making sacrifices. Listen, the children can grow up and not reciprocate the way you want them to reciprocate. Before now, you will hear people say things, I'm doing this for my children so that when they grow up, they can turn around and take care of me. And what we are telling people now is, do whatever you are doing for your children, because that's what you are supposed to do as a parent. As you are doing it, also make adequate plans for your old age. Because if those children don't turn around and take care of you in your old age, you don't want to die of regret. I'm not saying don't take care of your aged parents. As a matter of fact, it is commanded by the Bible. But I am also saying, in this new generation, as you are raising your children, be making adequate plans for your old age, so that you don't grow up to become a disgruntled elder. You don't grow up to become a discouraged leader. And that happens to leaders, especially in the non-governmental organization space, okay, in the non-profit space, when it takes a lot to do anything. It takes a lot to do anything. When you see a successful organization, it is because a handful of people are making sacrifices to make that organization move forward. Now, when you are one of such people, you have to learn to do the right things for the right reasons, because people will test you. People will repeatedly give you reasons to give up. But if you do the right thing for the right reason, you will not quit no matter what people do. If you do the right thing for the right reasons, you will not give up, even if you are not seeing results immediately. Okay, I said this in my book, The Checklist. If you have not seen the book, I will encourage you to get the book, The Checklist. Just check in my bio on Instagram, or go to my website, shegunke.com, and you can get a link that will lead you to that book, The Checklist. Okay, it's a powerful book. I don't have time to talk about it tonight, but in that book I talked about the law of I talked about the investment of time, the investment of time, and how that whatever it is you are going to build is going to take a very long time. Okay, it takes time to build anything of worth. So in the book, I told about one of my mentors who pastored a church for upwards of 20 years without any significant growth. Okay, he had just a handful of people, but over 15 years into the work, there was an explosion. And of course, as I speak today, is very, very famous. The church is massive and all of that. But when I met with him, I asked him a question. I said, for like the 10, 15 years where it looked like you were not producing any result, why didn't you give up? And then he said, it never occurred to me to give up. And that's what happens to people that do the right things for the right reasons. No matter how difficult things get, giving up is not an option. Just this morning, I was listening to Carrie Nieuwhof's podcast, and he had this interview with Seth Godin. And most of the time we tell people, what are you going to do if you are certain that failure is not an option? And Seth Godin said, why don't you look at it from another perspective? What are you willing to do if you know that failure is certain? What are you willing to do if you know that failure is certain? And by listening to their conversation, it dawned on me that whether you fail or succeed, when you know that what you are doing is what you are supposed to do, failure therefore does not become discouragement. See, because it's not about the results, it's about whether I succeed or fail. This is what I would have done. Let me give an example. Being a responsible parent, taking care of your children. Now, you are not doing it because the child would grow and do exactly what you want them to do with their lives. Listen, or maybe better still, picture a scenario, and God forbid this happens to anybody, but this has happened to people. You invest so much, in training a child, and by the time you are about maybe 65, your child is about maybe in his 30s, and then your child dies. Do you regret everything you did in raising that child? No. You did nothing wrong. But you will do, so when the child is about 10, do you hold back on investments because you are not certain whether this child would outlive me or not? No. You raise your child properly. You invest in your children because that is what you're supposed to do, whether you succeed or fail. when we begin to pursue the things we are supposed to pursue, whether we are going to succeed or fail, we will become resilient in our leadership. Okay, the second suggestion I'm going to give you this evening, if you want to be resilient in leadership, you don't want to give up as a leader, the second suggestion is this: strike a balance between long-term and short-term goals. Strike a balance between long-term and short-term goals. I told you about my book, The Checklist. Okay, in that same chapter, okay, where I talked about the investment of time, I talked about the law of time perspective as enunciated by Brian Tracy. That principle says that the most successful people in any society are those who take the longest period of time into consideration when making their day-to-day decisions. The law of time perspective, it says that the most successful people in any society are the ones who take the longest period of time into consideration when making their day-to-day decision. In other words, they plant trees that they are likely never to sit under. When they are making their decisions, they are thinking 50 years, they are thinking 40 years, 20 years into the future. Yet, in Proverbs chapter 13 and verse 5, the Bible says that hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. So I combined these principles together, and this is what I discovered: that long-term goals will keep you investing till you produce the right result. When you say to yourself, it will take time to produce anything of worth, okay, to build a good marriage, to build a great organization, to succeed in your career, it will take time. When that dawns on you, that's the law of time perspective. You are willing to give time, so you are patient, you are resilient. But at the same time, hope deferred makes the heart sick. So if all your expectations are long term, you will lack motivation in the present. So you need a balance between long-term goals and short-term goals. Like I said, long-term goals will keep you investing till you produce the right results. But short-term goals will give you immediate fulfillment and a reason to keep pursuing your long-term goals. If you are going to be resilient, you've got to strike a balance between short-term and long-term goals. So let me give you an example of what I'm saying. You have just started a business. Tell yourself the truth. For this business to break even, for this business to be truly profitable, I've got to give it maybe about the next 15 to 20 years. That's a long-term goal. But then you've got to come into the present and give yourself some short-term goals that gives immediate fulfillment, immediate benefit, okay, in the present. So you say to yourself, okay, the next thing we want to do now, okay, maybe we want to register the business as a short-term goal. When you do that, it gives you some kick. Okay, the next thing is we want to get a place, okay, an office. The office you will get right now may not be the ultimate office, but the fact that you are moving forward. Maybe the next thing you want to do is, oh, I want to get about 3 or 4 investors. They may not be bringing a lot of money, but now you have people who believe in this business. You have made progress. Okay, for most of us who know me, I'm also the lead pastor at Hill City. I've been doing that now for upwards of 13 years. When we started, it was the short-term goals. You know, sometimes just by being able to hold the next service, to hold the next meeting was enough, all right, to let me know there is a future in this thing. All right, if just one more person attends another service, it lets me know there is a future to this thing. All right, somebody brings a friend, it lets me know. All right, so there is a weekly encouragement, even though the long-term vision is for 15, 20 years. So if you are going to be resilient in your leadership, you need a balance between long-term goals and short-term goals. And as I round up tonight, my final suggestion to you is this: if you are going to be resilient in your leadership, you have to treat every project like an experiment. You have to treat every project like an experiment. When you do so, failure will not discourage you. Why? Because you are not an expert. You are an explorer. It is only experts that get disappointed when they fail. Explorers don't get disappointed when they fail, because failure is actually a process, a step in the process of discovery. So treat every project like an experiment. No matter what it is you are doing, don't put all your hopes in one strategy. Let me say it to you this way. I stumbled on this quote online. It's anonymous. The person said, be stubborn about your goals and flexible about your methods. Okay? Be stubborn about your goals and flexible about your methods. So you are certain, you are clear about what you are trying to achieve, but you know the way we are going about it now is not the only way to go about it. So if this way does not work, it's an experiment, it didn't work, you switch to another way, you pivot. Okay, look for another strategy. You've got to be stubborn about your goals, but flexible with your methods. All right, I believe we can wrap it up on that note tonight. What have we learned today? It's that if you are going to make the shift from competence to leadership, you have to become a lifelong student of leadership. You have to develop the right attitude toward people, and you have to develop the will to lead, or resilience in leadership. Okay, and I made 3 suggestions to you tonight if you want to develop resilience and leadership. I told you to what? Do the right things for the right reasons. I've told you to strike a balance between short-term goals and long-term goals. And thirdly, treat every project like an experiment. We will wrap up on that note tonight, and then we will continue next Wednesday. We're going to be moving to something else next week, Wednesday, but still in the series Leadership, moving from competence to leadership, to leadership, to leadership, to